Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. I really appreciate and admire your patience and your presence tonight in here. It is a privilege to introduce the learned, dedicated and highly adored Swami G from Ramakrishna Parampara. There's the whole 9 yards about him, but I will just succinctly try to explain or read this, what I have in here. Swami Nirbhayananda Saraswati hails from Karnataka in India. He is the president of Ramakrishna Vivekananda Ashrams in Bijapur and Gadag of Karnataka state. Being ordained by his mentor, Srimad Swami Purushottamananda Ji of Ramakrishna Mission, Bangalore, he took sannyas in 1993 and from then onwards has been vigorously spreading the message of Swami Vivekananda through long lecture series under the title Bhavya Jivana Parichaya. Swamiji's activities focus on man-making, targeting youths, teachers, and women by conducting workshops and conventions all over the state, all over the country, and all over the world. Universal Peace Federation, an organization in consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, has conferred on him the Ambassador of Peace title. Swami Ji was invited to the UPF Assembly in New York from September 10th through the 23rd of 2007 to present a prayer on behalf of Hinduism for the departed souls in the tragedy of September 11th of 2001. In July of 2007, he was in Seoul to act as religious advisor from Hinduism for Inter-Religious Cultural Festival. Swamiji participated in 4th World Parliament of Religions in Barcelona and spoke on the subject, India's educational initiatives. He has addressed in Genoa and Turin universities of Italy. Swamiji is the leading force behind ashramas in Dharwad, Hubli, Ranibennur, Gulbarga, Bidar, and so on and so forth. Swamiji runs a school for rural destitute children. The school has secured 2nd place in National Yoga Competition held in Jabalpur and has 100% results in SSLC. Children of Kargil martyrs are given free education in this school. He is a guest speaker under Indira Gandhi National Open University to talk on FM radio about the Indian education system. He is a regular speaker in Chandana and ETV channels. He runs a bi-monthly magazine, Vivekadipti, in Kannada, which has a sizable circulation. His speeches on the subject, Bhavya Jivana Parichaya, is available in MP3 form. Ladies and gentlemen, now I hand over the mic. I take the privilege to hand over the mic to the Reverend Swami G. And it's a pleasure and a privilege to have him in our midst. And on behalf of you all and on behalf of Mallige Kannada Kuta, I welcome him to our community here tonight, and thank you.
We can use the stand. We can use the stand. Yes.
Om Sthapakaya Cha Om Sthapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Avatara Varisthaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha Pavitram Charitam Yasyaha Pavitram Jivanam Tatha Pavitrata Swarupine Tasye Kurmo Namo Namaha Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapahari Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Sriman Nataraj, I hope President of Maliga Kannada.
His wife is President of Canada.
Let Srimati Nataraj.
Dr. Hemachandra, a great supporter of Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement in Karnataka. Dr. Hemachandra, equally a great supporter and a great participator in Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement in Karnataka in various ways, my dear friends. Today's subject, as it was intimated to me, is Hinduism. And few more words appear in the topic. The scientificity in Hinduism and how at all it is a science of human elevation. These phrases appear there. It is in this light that I would like to deal with that subject in today or tonight. It is not a faith. Basically, we must remember, we have faiths in plenty in the world. Christianity is a faith rather. Islam is a faith. Of course, Buddhism cannot be considered as faith in the formal sense of the term, or in any sense, of course. Hinduism is not at all a faith. Right here itself, I would like to make a distinction between the word faith in English and Shraddha in Sanskrit. They are not synonymous. Faith requires a person to believe it. He cannot question it. Similar status you can't accord to Hinduism. Hinduism is a compilation of truths. Truth is not faith. If truth is faith, then science also must come to be considered as faith only. In fact, anything that contains truth or anything that is truth more deserves to be called as science than a faith. After all, what is science? Search for truth, passion for truth. When you are searching for truth in a dispassionate way, without any prejudice, only going by facts, only by experience, with nothing as criterion, whatever information you are able to get comes to be called as science. We know what is faith now, we know what is science. We know the clear distinction also between these two. In the light of this, what is the category that you are putting Hinduism under? Definitely it is not faith, because Everywhere you can come across this refrain running through constantly in the whole of Vedic literature. What is that? Test us. Test what we say. Way back in Chandogya itself, we come across a rishi calling upon his students to test each and everything before they arrive at any conclusion. To quote it here, which is of course quite relevant, Parikshalokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamaya nasti krutah krutene brahmana. Here brahmana means the one who is seeking brahmajnana. Genetic references are never made by sages of India. We must know. The status of a man is always decided on the basis of what sort of evolution he has achieved in life, and definitely on the basis of birth or any other unscientific basis. Manu very clearly puts, Janmana Jayate Shudraha. By birth, everyone is Shudra only, because at birth he has not undergone any sacrament. Janmana Jayate Shudra. He may be born, might have been born in the most orthodox Brahmin family, but he is a Shudra till he enters into that process of samskara, which normally we call as Upanayanam, or the initiation into the Gayatri Mantra. By birth, no one is a Brahmana or no one is whatever it is. Everyone is Shudra only. Janmana Jayate Shudraha. Samskara Dvijauchyate. When he gets that samskara, he is going to take a second birth. A second birth is given. See, there is chance for everyone in Hinduism. This itself is a great scientific fact. A fact that corroborates to the point that Hinduism is a very scientific religion. We have so many things that are being decided on the ethnical origin of a man. If one is black in color, we discriminate. If one is an Asian, we discriminate. And we boast that we are all very scientifically inclined. We have scientific temperaments. All sciences have taken their births. In our midst, all these things we come across, we hear every day, every morning, every evening, and all that. What is the scientificity that is carried on in all these practices? See how Hindu sages view that point. Have a parallel study, have a contrast. So striking is the contrast. Man cannot be decided on the basis of his birth because he has not chosen his birth. It is not a democratic process. Nothing is in his hand. Therefore, by birth we are not going to attach any importance. Neither we attach importance nor we detach importance on the basis of his birth. Rather, on the other hand, we definitely do attach importance on the basis of what type of character that he has achieved in his lifetime. So, it is on the basis of the type of the character that this assessment is made. Janmana Jayate, with Janma, at birth, everyone is a Shudra only. Samskara Dvijauchyate, when he is put to samskara, which of course should be considered on par with what we call as education today. Anyone who is being introduced into the process of education is getting Dvijatvam. That is Dvija, because through education he must be in a position to transform himself into a new type of man, irrespective of the previous origin that he had. Whatever will be the characteristics associated with the earlier origin, now he is given a chance to prove himself to a better personality, because now you are free. Prove your might. This is the mandate that is being given to him by the Hindu sages. Dvijauchyate, we are giving you a second birth. Prove yourself what sort of personality you are by virtue of the second birth, by education. Seek whatever education that you want and carve out a place for you in society. On that basis, of course, we have every right to decide what sort of responsibility or position that we must keep you in. So when Arjuna violated the responsibility, the spirit of responsibility, or when he deviated from the path of responsibility that he was taught about during the course of his education, Krishna calls him, you are Anarya. So therefore, you can almost consider the word Arya and Dvija as parallels. Whatever it is a different matter altogether to discuss upon, at this juncture at least. So, Samskarat Dvijauchyate, Veda Pathi Bhavet Vipraha. Vipra is a man who engages himself in the Vedadhyayana, the study of Vedas. Even then he is not Brahmana. Brahmana is one thing, Vipra is another thing, Dvija is totally another thing. So, Brahmajanati Brahmana, whosoever seeks that Brahmajnana, whosoever is interested in that Brahmajnana, whosoever is on the path to attain to that Brahmajnana is Brahmana. So when a man we don't know of his genetic origin. When that man came to the Rishi in Chandogya Upanishad seeking Brahmajnana, this Rishi is calling him, is branding him as Brahmana. Truly, on a very scientific basis, oh Brahmana. Parikshalokan karmachitan Brahmano. See how the scientific concepts are included in every Hindu utterance. How that scientificity is carried on. Never have we deviated an inch from what today is known as a scientific method. What after all is today's science compared with the scientific attitude that our ancient people had in the early days. This has been proclaimed, upheld by none other than Max Muller himself, Professor Max Muller himself. What a glowing tribute that he has paid to the sages of India. These are very interesting things that Hindu boys and girls must evince some sort of an inclination to go through so that they can derive a lot of pride in their origin. Which race on this earth, which community on this earth, which nation under the sun can claim or can boast of such a tremendous, most magnificent heritage that Hindus have a chance to boast, be proud of or boast about? We have that, but we don't know anything about that, and therefore we are living like mediocrities. It's a different aspect, social aspect of the Hindu community. We can discuss them in other stages, whatever it is. It has nothing to do with the subject proper of today. So, the Brahmana, Parikshaloka, Karmachita, test everything, Brahmana, test everything. Test everything. Don't jump into conclusion before you get that conviction that what you have been seeking is true, what you are saying is absolutely true. Not only that you can infer these things, not only that you can keep, of course you can have faith in somebody's utterance and say this may be true. You have got right to say as this may be true, but you don't have any right to say this is true unless and until you experience it yourself beyond any doubt. Therefore, go on testing things. Parikshalokan, Karmachitan Brahmano, Nirvedamaya Nasti Krutakrutena. Test it, verify it. This is what Vivekananda echoed when he had come to America and delivered so many lectures here. Swami G puts it so beautifully. Vivekananda's interpretation is a new commentary written on all Vedas, a renewed version of the commentaries written by Shankaracharya and such other great personalities who have wonderfully elaborated the great insights of Vedic rishis before the whole mankind at large for their own dispassionate judgment, for their own unprejudiced judgment. Vivekananda, on one such occasion in America, when he was here a century ago, says, is it that the laws of dharma, the laws of religion, must always be subjected to test of verification that we normally do with the physical sciences like physics or chemistry or biology, like experimentation, observation and inference, etc.? Is it that the laws of religion also must be subjected to the test of verification that normally we apply to the laws of physical sciences? Is it so? Yes, in my opinion it is so. If any religion cannot stand the test of verification, if any religious doctrine cannot stand the test of verification, throw it out. It was never religion. It will never be religion in future either. It has all along been trash. Throw it out. Sooner you do it, better it is. Which religious preacher has got this guts, this courage, this audacity to say this? Swamiji said that as a representative of long line of sages whom we can come across right from the days of Rigveda. Parikshalokan, test it. So, from this angle of view, Hinduism does not contain anything to be believed. Test it, test it. Similar sentiment is expressed by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. When he says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Arjuna, anything, when Krishna says that, when the Rishi of Chandogya Upanishad says that, remember, those utterances or the wisdom in those utterances will not apply only to the Upanishadic truths. For each and everything, whenever a Western scholar says, for example, electrons, so on and so forth, Newton said that, so some other scientists said that, how without salt we are always prompted, we are tempted to swallow it without salt. Huxley has said that, Darwin has said that. Darwin says organic evolution is the only way of evolution that living beings can have. Is it not that even today we have been swallowing it without any pinch of salt? Is it so? What sort of organic evolution that a human being has been undergoing? Do you come across any organic evolution with human beings? For the past 100 years, the so-called people with scientific inclination never raised their voice against the incompleteness of Darwin's theory of evolution. Don't you accept it? But tell something belonging to Hindu religion, all sorts of, the verifications will come, all sorts of rational treatments will come. I have no objection for the rational treatment that you are subjecting the Hindu doctrines to. I don't absolutely know, but where will your scientific inclination go whenever you are being brought in contact with something that comes from the Western origin? Why don't assume similar stance when you are dealing with a doctrine pertaining to Darwin's theory? Why don't you do it? Do we do it? Have been doing? No, we never do, because anything that comes from a white-skinned man must be perfectly scientific. Anything that comes from India, it must be a bundle of superstition unless it is verified beyond doubt. Remember, Vivekananda put this in a contradictory way, rather in a contrary way, when he told Nivedita that anything of Western origin, you have to, Nivedita, first verify and then accept. Anything of Indian origin, first you have to accept and then verify. What a contrast. Why? From those days of Nax Mother up to Vivekananda, the Hindu race has been remarkably inclined, committed to living in truth. Any number of historians have actually upheld this grand virtue that they have come across in Hindus, but unfortunately, Hindu boys, Hindu youth today, they don't know anything about all these things. They know about the defects of Hindu society. They never know anything about the positive achievements of either India or Hindus. That is how even our education system is framed, even by the government that we have been having after independence. If British had any such government, it's quite understandable. After all, being alien forces, they never might have evinced any interest for India's development. Having got our independence, having our own government at the center that can frame policies and laws pertaining to education system, even today we are having only such things whereby the Indian boys and girls will never come to know anything about the positive achievements of their ancestors. These are all the things that Hindu community today, both in India and also outside, must concern itself with. We need to live up to the realities of contemporary days. We should not bask in admiration. We might have achieved something. In that feeling that I have achieved something, you can't simply bask. You can't have a placid existence. Something must be there to jolt you out of that placidity. What is that? See, the heritage, the tradition, etc., etc. How much our boys and girls have been able to know. How much we are in a position to infuse inspiration in them. How much pride we can give them. Remember, this is the basic requirement in an education system. Harashman says, when a teacher is teaching the students inside the classroom without bothering about how to inspire them, he is not at all a good teacher, because he is the one who is simply hammering on cold iron, expecting the iron to take all the shape that he wants it from. Is it ever possible? Iron can change its shape, it can assume the shape that the person who is hammering it with wants only when it is heated. The basic requirement, first you have to heat and then only you can shape. Similarly, inspiration has got a tremendous role as far as the education is concerned. Remember, the best form of inspiring our boys and girls is to make them understand that they do not belong to any mean race. I don't belong to a mean race. I have got a grand ancestry. When Vivekananda says on one occasion in India, the moment Hindus have come to know that their forefathers have done remarkable achievements to their credit, all around I see a sort of rejuvenation. Now they are waking up to their senses, and they are now setting themselves on the point where they are demanding a freedom for the whole nation in some way, more or less in that way Swami G speaks. So what I mean to say is that inspiration, creating a source of inspiration, is the fundamental duty of any man who wants to educate any other man, whether it is teacher or father or mother, whatever it is. You want to educate your girl, you want to educate your boy, your son, your daughter, the easiest way and the most effective way of educating them is create some inspiration in his mind, that he must always feel that he is highly energetic. He can achieve anything in life. He need not look at anything for any other support or any such thing. There is a tremendous, inexhaustible mine of energy inside, inbuilt. My genetic characteristic is such that I don't belong to a mean race. I can achieve anything. My father was so, my forefathers were so. So what is it that I cannot achieve? If only all Hindu parents can infuse this spirit into their daughters and sons, your 75% of your work is done. So all these things will come into picture whenever I go to discuss subjects of this type. Even though consciously there is in me effort that I should not deviate from the subject proper. Somehow it will come. Well, anyway, everything is relevant only. All these things constitute the part and parcel of the subject. The scientificity of the religion that we have been practicing for the past 20,000 years or 10,000 years. So Krishna says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So whenever you are accepting a doctrine, whether it is of scientific origin or religious origin, use your faculty to see that it is not a matter of superstition, it is not a superstitious utterance, it has got all the characteristics of being a scientific utterance, an experience that you can always have. Hinduism, viewed from this angle, is a bundle of truths or laws which have been any number of times verified in previous ages, which are open for verification even today, which are open for verification even today. They are verified, and even today they are verifiable. If you want, you can verify. Therefore, it is in this sense that I am prompted to say that it is not faith, it is truth. It is truth, truth, out and out truth, truth in the absolute sense. For example, with an illustration I would like to prove my point. What is the concept of Godhood that Hinduism gives? Compare it with the concept of Godhood that is being given by other religions. Have a comparison. Let us go for comparisons. Other people are comparing us with them. See your country, how much backward, see how much we have done. Don't they compare? Well, okay. They have a field to compare. We have more than 10 fields, we have more than 20 fields to compare. Let us compare their literature with our literature, their grammar with our grammar, their scientificity, what they have done, what were they in the 14th century, 15th century, what we were in 20th century BC. We have innumerable fields to compare. Come, let us go for comparison. Be proud that you have got so many fields whereby you can establish yourself as a man of supremacy. Not that you don't lack anything. You lack everything, but you don't know that, that's all. So compare this concept of Godhood basically with the concept of Godhood that is being known by other religions. What is the concept of Godhood Hinduism has? Swami G Vivekananda calls it as the Magna Carta of Hinduism. There is a beautiful sentence, utterance in Rigveda. Ekam satvipra bahudha vadanti. That is the concept of Godhood, the first and the foremost. Ekam, it is not only truth. It is, in fact, according to Hinduism, God itself is truth, or truth itself is God. The real form of God is truth only. When that truth, because it is omnipotent, it can assume many forms. It can assume a human form. It can assume a semi-human form. It can assume a material form. All these things are details, which I don't have time under the banner that I have been asked to speak about in today within the framework of time. I don't have time, but that one truth has assumed all these forms. It's possible for one material to assume various forms under various conditions. As students of chemistry and physics, we know. One material can assume a number of forms provided you are going to bring about the changes in the conditions in the number of times. Everything is just a product of the condition, and the reality about that product is something else. That is how the concept of Godhood always commences in Hinduism too. It is one, that is one. What is that? You can call it anyone. Whatever you may call, still it transcends. You can call it as one man or one force or one truth, one law, one principle, one strength, one power. Call by any name that you want. Still it is transcending. It is not, you have not covered within the gamut of you everything that it represents, everything that it is. That's what Yama tells Nachiketa in Kathopanishad. Tadu natyeti kaschana etatva. Oh Nachiketa, you may try to catch Atman. You may do anything, you may try to catch. Still it will be an arm's length ahead of you. You are never able to catch it. What he means by that is, you can never conceptualize, you can never picturize what Atman is. It is transcendental. Transcendental means it is transcendental in absolute sense. You cannot know what it is. That's what. Once again, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. The Vak and Manas, they wanted to know what this Atman is. They came back. Empty-handed, they came back. Mind and speech, they could not grasp what really the Atman is. Of course, all these things mean the same thing. So, Rigveda, when it says something about Godhood, it says, Ekam, Sat, Vipra, Bahudha, Vadanti. It is one. God is one. Our principle is one. In fact, in all metaphysical sciences, whether it is Hinduism or whatever it is, there are three broad concepts that every religion wants to discuss. Three subjects are there, or three concepts are there. Three topics, you name that you want. Three things are there which every religion is supposed to, which every philosophy is supposed to, and also has been discussing upon. What is that? What is the nature of the man, the subject? Who are you as the viewer of the world outside? What is your nature? What sort of entity that you are? What are you? Are you just this physiological dimension or psychophysical complex that you can call yourself as man? Are you just that? Or are you something more than that? Are you something added to that? What are you exactly? The viewer, the subject. What is the nature of that subject? What is the objective world outside? When you exclude this subject, whatever remains apart from this subject is the objective world. When you put aside the man who has been observing this panoramic world, whatever else is there outside is the object. What is the nature of the object? What is the nature of the subject? What is the relation between these two? This is all. It is only these three concepts or topics that any metaphysics, any philosophy under the sun always has been trying to discuss and will discuss in future either. Nothing else. So, from that angle of view, according to Hinduism, the Jiva, the Jagat, and Ishvara, these are technological terms used in Hindu philosophy. What is the nature of Jiva? The Jiva, the subject, the one that is observing all these things. What is the nature of that? What is that Jiva? And what is the Jagat? What is the Jagat outside? And what is the relation between these two? In Hinduism, the concept, while discussing about the concept of Godhood, what they say is, it is one. There is nothing like Jiva, there is nothing like Jagat, there is nothing like a relation. When any relation to ensue, minimum you need two things. In presence of only one thing, what sort of a relation you can conceive? If at all there is any relation, perhaps the relation has nothing to do with the reality. That relation cannot command the status of reality. It must be something else. Fact is one thing, reality is another thing. Many things are there. Many things are there open for perception. You may perceive so many things. Just because you are perceiving things, it is not necessary that it should be existing. It's possible for you to see so many things that are not at all existing. You can see things which do not have the existence at all. There are several things in your own life cycle, in your own workaday world. There are several things which do not exist, but you can very clearly see. Whole universe can see, whole mankind can see, but it doesn't exist. I just give you one example. What is the color that the sky has? All 650 crores of people that are inhabiting on the surface of the earth, in one voice will say, in no uncertain mood, in uncertain terms, they say, the color of the sky is blue. But is it blue? Is it blue? It is everybody's experience that earth is stationary. Now we know, scientific investigation has proved that earth is not stationary. Now you know, going by your experience, merely going by your perception, leaving aside your inferential facts or whatever it is, going just by your experience, your perception, what is earth? It is stationary. What is sun? Sun is always moving. Is it so? Is sun moving? Is earth stationary? Does the sky have the color blue? So glaring it is. Who can deny that sky is blue in color? Who can deny earth is stationary? Who can deny sun is moving? See, glaring examples are there. Similarly, on similar lines, you can come to the argumentation that Hindu sages have given. Objective world appears as a different entity from the subject that is viewing, but they are not different. What Hindu sages here are trying to say is this, my dear friend, do not go by your sensory experience only. Undoubtedly we say, your experience is the last criterion for accepting anything as true. Experience itself is the criterion. Nothing else is the parameter, the benchmark for anything to accrue the status of being called as true is that, have you experienced? Sir, you say experience is the only criterion. It's my experience that sky is blue. Why do you contradict yourself? Within 2 minutes you are contradicting yourself. Why is it? True. But remember, when we say experience, when Hindu sages say experience, it is not experience just confined to the waking state. Friends, once again, I call upon you to know which other religion, which other philosophy has given you that man's experience must not be taken as the criterion only when it is confined to the waking state. There are other states also, the experience during which also must definitely have a predominant place while giving a judgment about anything. Where else you will find? Do you find anywhere else? Maybe. An inkling of it may be found in Buddhism. But what about other religions? Except religions of Indian origin. When I say Hinduism, I of course substantially mean any religion of Indian origin. That generalization, that broad categorical, the concept I would like to clear before you enter into any confusion. Except religions of Indian origin. When I say religions of Indian origin, remember, they are all Hinduism only in a limited aspect. Whether it is Jainism or Buddhism, Hinduism in a limited aspect. Buddhism is just the abstract, the Advaita plus Yoga combined. Vivekananda puts it. The Advaita and Yoga combined is Buddhism. Atheism, atheism which is a part of Hinduism, is just Jainism. Whatever, even Judaism, Christianity and Islam, I can prove before you without any doubt that they are all just some aspects of Hinduism and nothing more. Here, I am trying to assert this point that Hindu sages have totally exhausted all the capacities of a man in speculating things. It is impossible for you to speculate anything beyond what the sages have already done. Even modern quantum physics, Hindus have stipulated long ago. Quantum physics, many important theories, uncertainty principle. For example, see that great Shankaracharya who emerged in India in the 8th century, while writing commentary on Brahma Sutras, his beautiful point he gives in one of the writings that he has given about the building material of the universe, Sthitigatyopi ekatraha sambhavat. The building material of which the whole universe is made, the sthiti and gati of that material simultaneously cannot be known. What else is uncertainty principle if this is not? The sthiti is the position of that. You call it electron, you call it whatever you want. This is what uncertainty principle, it appears as though uncertainty principle is just an English translation of what Shankara has said when he was just a boy of 20-year-old. 1200 years ago. Sthitigatyopi ekatraha asambhavat. Same time, you can never know both the mass and movement of an electron. Did you work in National Physical Laboratory, Delhi? That is the typical Indian mentality whenever he attained to that sagehood, that sainthood. So, in the background of all these things, they say, what is the concept of Godhood? This Jiva, Jagattu and Ishvara, they are no different entities, they are just one. Your experience may be different. Remember, your experience is different only when when you say that, use that word experience, when it is confined to the waking state. There are other states of existence also where your experience will never say that all these three are different entities. What is that experience? It is superconscious state. It is Turiya Avastha, not Jagrata Avastha. Friend, my dear friend, don't jump into conclusions. Your experience is not confined to Jagrata Avastha. It just is 1/4 of your total experience. There are other experiences also. It's possible for you to be in Nidra Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Nidra Avastha, and also the Turiya Avastha. There are 4 states in which you are existing, not just waking state. If waking state is everything as far as your existence is concerned, then no man is existing at the time he goes to birth. From the time he goes to bed, till the time he comes out of the bed, he is not at all existing. That means to say, every day he is taking his birth, every day he is born, and every day he is dying. Apply scientificity. Why do you say only waking state is to be taken into consideration? Of course, in countries like India, many people spend more than 15 hours in non-waking states. Then where do you put them under? Which category you put them? Corpses? Of course, more or less they have been so for the past 1,000 years. They need not be a fresh name like that. See how the totality of the consideration will come. How they are taking the wholesome, not leaving even a trifle. Even the minutest detail is not being put aside, thinking that, oh, we can put aside. When Niels Bohr conceptualized the model of an atom, there were several things which he could not explain. But the scientific circles accepted his concept. His picture was accepted. For example, when the electron is moving around the nucleus, against that centripetal force, against the pull of the nucleus, it should be so that electron should lose its mass and ultimately it should vanish. But Bohr could not explain. His model does not give any information about this. But scientific circles accepted it. Is it so with Hindu sages? They say it is not only your waking state, there are other states also. So, my dear friend, when we are here to say something about the concept of Godhood, remember we have our own concept. That is, first and foremost, it is transcendental. We never say, therefore, Vedanta clearly says it is Nirguna and Nirakara. It does not have a shape. It does not have a form. Anything that does not have a form cannot have a quality also. Of course, even that quality, we can't give any attribute to that, because that attribute also is something like a fine. You can have attributes only for finite quantities. If it is infinite, if it is eternal, if it is absolute, it is not possible for you to have any attributes. That is its real form. That is the real form. The manifested forms may be different. This sentence appears in Vedanta. That is the real form. Manifested forms are different. Once again, another shock for you all. Is it so, Swami G? Then reality is different from manifestation? Another inkling is given to you. Another topic for contemplation is given to you. Real form is one thing. Manifested forms are other things. Is it so that reality is different from manifestation? Yes. Once again, the great Shankara says, reality is different from manifestation. What is appearing is not what it is. What is very much different from what appears. For appearance, certain conditions are required, but to be, no condition is required. The reality, the real existence is when it is not bound by any conditions. It's beyond. But for appearance, for making its presence felt, it has to come within certain conditions. What is that condition? Maya. What is that Maya? What a wonderful thing. Maya, the summation of time, space and causation. Friends, a challenge is here for modern students of physics here. Remember, what is it that is beyond the influence of time, space and causation? What is it that can exert an influence on anything other than time, space and causation? If there are any limiting forces, influencing forces in the whole creation, all these forces can be broadly brought under the category time, space and causation. There is no fourth. And there is nothing that is not affected by all the three, the time, space and causation, which Hindu sages put it as Maya. Maya. What is it that is beyond the purview of Maya? Creation means it is something that one can visualize only when it is brought within the framework of Maya. That's a different thing, but only to highlight before you the beauties of Indian philosophy, the Vedanta, here and there. You will know, and then I take some side tracks and once again come back to the main path. I am coming back to the main path. What is the concept of Godhood? According to theory of relativity, you can visualize the change of an object only when it is viewed in the background of some other object which is less changing. You can visualize change only when it is viewed in the background of some other object, some other background, which is less changing. We all know theory of relativity. We know we have given 2 Nobel Prizes to Einstein, so that cannot be questioned. And it is true. So far, it has not been proved to be wrong at all. Till the time comes when it gets to be proved as wrong. Hope it doesn't get proved wrong. We know, yes, some change we are able to see in the background of some other thing which is less changing. When you say it is less changing, of course, that is also changing. Maybe it is less changing, but change can be discerned with respect to that background material also. It is also changing. How do you know that it is changing? I can know that it is background material also is changing when I view it in the background of some other bit which is still less changing. Logic is simple. Same argumentation. You need not go for any deviations. Extend the logic, extend the argument ad infinitum. Extend it to the end. Ultimately, you have to pass through the materials which are less changing, still less changing, more still less changing, so on and so forth. Ultimately, you will come across a certain fundamental material which is basic, which is most elemental in the whole of your imagination, which is not changing, which has been showing only 0 changes. That is the ultimate substance beyond which your argumentation cannot go. That can be kept as the background material, most elemental substance. That is God. That's what we mean by saying God. Changeless, immutable. Because it is changeless, it is not relative. Change, relativity, always they go together. Because it is changeless, it is not relative. Because it is not relative, it is absolute. Therefore, the best description or the most suitable description or I can say most conspicuously the description that is found about Godhood in the whole of Vedanta is it is immutable, it is changeless, it is absolute, ultimate. They also say ultimate, but it's beyond. It is beyond. It is absolute. We are all made of that. That is the fundamental substance. It is that substance that has been assuming all these forms. So whatever object that you may come across in your life is carrying all the characteristics of that elemental substance, because otherwise you are going to violate your own law of conservation of mass and law of conservation of energy. Because that is the material which is most basic, most elemental to all other substances. Whatever attribute, whatever quality, property that it has must be carried along. It is being all the properties are being carried along all through its existence. Today, when I sit here, I carry all those properties in me. You all carry all those properties. The wood carries, iron carries, everything carries. Therefore, Hindus say everything is God. We salute to this plastic. We salute to that wood. We salute to the stone. We salute everything. Why? Are we superstitious? What these things are made of ultimately, that is the reality. That reality has assumed various forms, but it is reality again, reality in a different perspective, reality in disguise, but that reality is being continued. The basic material, the fundamental material, that is being continued. This is the concept of Godhood that way. I do not want to prolong more into the abstract philosophical aspect of today's subject. What I would like to say here is, therefore, they say Ekam, because that is immutable, because it is infinite, because it is absolute, it is Eka. Because it is Eka, whatever multiplicity, whatever many that you see is not reality, it is just, it has got apparent existence, but within that apparent existence, this reality is always carried along. So it is impossible for you to see anywhere anything that is not God. God is everywhere. Isha vasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagata. You are also that God. You are that. Always you are the Tattvamasi. Shvetaketo, Tattvam Sivo Shvetaketo. Atmanam Vidhi. Try to know what you are. Tvam Brahmasi Nasamshayaha. You are Brahman itself. You are nothing else. To put it in the most realistic terms, to put it in the most original terms, if I am not going to impose any characteristic upon God which it does not have, basically, to put it as it is as such, you are that God. Everything is that God, with the only difference that the degree of manifestation of that Godhood is different in various forms of the multiplicity that you are coming across. Depending upon the degree of manifestation, you are going to judge the position of a man or position of a living being in society. It is on the basis of this degree of manifestation that hierarchical status is being imparted to. It is on that basis the social system and all other systems in India have been planned, have been conceptualized. Is it not scientific? Is it not scientific? Don't you find scientificity? So whatever it is, with all that, what we can come to conclude on the basis of all these things is that Godhood is ever present in each and every one of us. We must live in that consciousness. Just because you don't know, remember, knowledge is what that ultimately matters. Because you don't know, you are behaving in a different way. What is expected of you is to know really what you are. You must simply know what you are. This is what another sage in Shvetashvatara Upanishad says, there is no other way than to always live in the understanding that you are that Godhood only. There is no other way unless and until you come to clearly accept the point that you are Godhood, you are God, you are veritable God only, nothing else. Unless you come to accept that point with all the conviction that is expected of you, there is no other way that you can liberate yourself from the miseries, from the trials, from the troubles and tribulations. Nanyah pantha vidyate naya. Why don't you come to know? Why don't you accept that? Is it that you have to manufacture the truth from anywhere? Is it not that it is quite evident? Is it not that it is being proved beyond any doubt? What more logic you want? What more the scientific basis that you want to accept the fact that you are that God only? You are manifesting Him. You are representing Him. That what is expected of you is to only live in that firm conviction. That's all. What else is needed? How much privileged a man is simply from today onwards, try to or learn to consider yourself, treat yourself as Godhood and nothing else. Shankara once again comes to our aid when he says, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. I have to simply know what I am, that is all. Just know what you are. The simplest thing possible. Simply know what you are. Just live like what you are. That is the solution for all problems. That is panacea. Ramana Maharshi never gave any other teaching to anyone except the fact, know yourself. Swami Chinmayananda, you have heard of him, who is no more presently, but who has done tremendous work both in East and so many Western countries to preach Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and all that. A great man, remarkable man. We must remember him always for the wonderful monumental work that he has done, the services that he has rendered to Hinduism. When he was a student of Madras University, during those days, it was fashion for students of Madras universities to go and meet Ramana Maharshi in Tiruvannamalai. They used to tell among the friends, I met Ramana Maharshi yesterday. I had been there, he blessed me. It was a fashion, something like that. During our days, it was equally a fashion for us to tell among ourselves that I know Swami Purushottamanaji in Bangalore. So more or less here and there, one great man arises and he creates that stir wonderfully. And around him, some movement will come and it will do a lot of good for the society at large. History is simply replete with such examples. Similarly, this Balakrishna, that he was known as Balakrishna earlier, during his pre-monastic days, went to Ramana Maharshi to meet him once. Many people were sitting around Maharshi seeking his guide. Of course, Ramana Maharshi would not vocally give any, teaching or any mantra or any upadesha like that. He would simply look at you. That itself will serve as the greatest blessing. And every upadesha is done. What you have to do is to simply live in the same state that you experienced when you had come to the presence of that great man. That was how Ramana Maharshi used to inspire people and give the spiritual catering. Balakrishna went there. Immediately he went to the Maharshi, who was silently sitting with only a lion cloth, and told, Sir, please teach me. I have come from Madras, I am Balakrishna, please teach me something. Maharshi silently listened to all those things and said, wait, let everyone go out, I will teach you afterwards. Wait, let everyone go out. This boy waited for all to go out, all went out. Of course, they were all householders with a lot of responsibilities and all that. They can't afford to spend the days together, whether they go to Tiruvannamalai, Ramana Maharshi Ashrama, or Belur, but whatever it is. They have their own family ties. They have spent some time and now they are going back. After some time, everybody went off. He was waiting for that point and immediately came to Maharshi and again reproduced his request that he wanted to be initiated. Sir, everyone has gone out. I only am here. Please teach me. Immediately Ramana Maharshi said, let that I also get out. I will teach you. Let that I also get out. Yes, teaching is given. What more teaching is needed? Is it possible that that I can go out? If I also can go out, then what is that I? See, this is how sages right from the days of Rigveda. This is how they have been so effective. You can spend whole of your lifetime to understand what Ramana Maharshi said in 20 seconds. You need to invest the whole of your life to understand what he meant by that. It is just an offering. It is not a full-fledged sentence even. Symbolic language he has used. Don't know, it's quite easy to understand and digest that. You need several births to understand what it is. Once you understand what that means, you never need any more teaching for your illumination, for your living. What is that I? What is that I? Such a simple thing. It is through this I that I am going to achieve everything in this life. It is this I that is giving knowledge about every other thing. Then what is that I? What is that subject? This is what Krishna meant when he said, Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam, O Arjuna. You know which is the highest science? The science of spirituality. And what is that science of spirituality? The science that deals with the subject, the I. What is the nature of that subject? That has been doing wonderful work everywhere, that has been studying everything. Its field of study has even gone beyond the solar system. They have sent voyages, etc. outside solar system so that they can know all details about things that are there. But well, you have been studying all those things. Have you ever bothered to study about the thing that it is studying all these things? What is that I? This is the root of all knowledge. It is here that the solution for all problems is. It is exactly here. What is that I? Shveta Upanishad says, Shrunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha. Oh, all men everywhere in this universe, Vishve, Shrunvantu Vishve, whole mankind, oh please listen, lend your ears to me. Aye dhamani divyani tastu, oh people in the other spheres also, spheres of existence also. If any existence is there, if any animation is there, if people are there, please lend your ears too. Vedahametam, I have come to know. I have come to know. What is that? Vedahametam, Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varunam, Tamasah Parastat. That Purusha, Mahat, Aditya Varuna, who is there inside as the I, the subject, I have come to know what that is. Tameva viditva atimrutyameti. Simply know what it is. That means simply know what you are. Try to know what you are. Tameva viditva. If you know that, atimrutyameti, you have crossed all the barriers of death. Remember, death is the worst problem that a man can ever think of coming across. Many trials, many tribulations, disturbances, turbulences, so on, so forth, he will come across. But there is nothing that is unsolvable, such a mysterious, complex problem as death. You may be able to solve it. That is why Hindu rishis, they did not bother to solve kindergarten problems. They wanted to solve the root of all problems. What is the root of all problems? The problem of problems, death. They bothered themselves about solving the problem of death. They never bothered to solve the problem of poverty or problem of illiteracy. They left all those things for Western countries. You do it. All second countries you do. We want to solve the problem at the primary level because we want to solve the problem at the root level. You do it. It's your syllabus. We have a higher syllabus. We want to solve the problem of death. Because compared with that, after all, what sort of profundity your problems have? They are nothing. That holds the key for all solution. Tameva viditva atimrutyameti. By knowing him only, one can cross all barriers, all limitations, all miseries, tribulations, etc. Tameva viditva atimrutyameti. Nanyah pantha vidyateyan. There is absolutely no other way. There is no second methodology. Nanyah pantha vidyateyan. So try to know what you are. What you are? I am that supreme consciousness. I am that Satchidananda. My existence is never threatened because I am infinite. I pervade everywhere. I form the cause of everything. I am the causal matter. I am here. I am the substance and essence of each and everything. How can I die? My body will die. I am not this body. If body were to be everything, even when the person is dead, his body is very much there, as much as when he was alive. Why people cry at all then? If body is everything, why people should cry? That the same body is very much there. In fact, of course, it is still in a better form. It doesn't have a headache now. Which it used to have earlier. It is in a better condition now. Then why do you shed tears? Is it body? Remember, it's something like an electrical circuit. Electricity is one thing. The conductor is one thing. The insulation is some other thing. Don't mistake electricity for insulation, insulation for electricity. The life, breath, what is that? Essentially, I am that. What are the attributes of that? It is, in a nutshell, can be put as, it is such that my existence is never threatened, my knowledge is never threatened, my bliss is never threatened. It is only because the way I relate myself with the outside world is so defective, all these things are coming because any defect will and should beget only problems. Defects will problems. The defects will beget problems. It is only through defects that all problems will come. Proper things cannot produce any sort of problems. It is only defective things that produce problems. How you are relating yourself, what is the concept that you have? Remember, the concept of your relationship with the outside world has got a lot to do with the concept of your own self. What is the concept that you have? Unless you know what you are, you can never know how that I is related to other things. They are so intermingled, they are so interconnected. Try to know, see, the whole of spirituality is to know what I am, I am not to gain mukti anymore. I need not gain mukti, I am already that. I am already that. I need not gain it. The only thing is, I am not in a position to manifest it. I am not, because here comes once again the relevance of the great utterance of Swami Vivekananda. Till you are able to manifest the divinity that is there as the fundamental characteristic in you, you have not become religious. It is, see, remember, taking to religious practices is one thing, becoming religious is totally another thing. We have so many people that have taken themselves religious practices. Hardly we have any who are becoming or who have become religious. Religion, Vivekananda comes to define it as religion is the manifestation of that divinity, that godliness that is already there in India. During that topic I am going to cover how much Indians did, how much they have done. We cannot even imagine whether it was possible at all for those Indians. They did that, remember, with a quarter of their mind. 3/4 of their mind were always engrossed in the things spiritual in matter, spiritual in nature. Only with a quarter of their mind they were able to achieve all these things because they always believed in living in truth. Living in truth is the real parameter to know what sort of a man are you. What is the passion that you have for truth? How much you can sacrifice for truth? What is your commitment to truth? This is a clear indicator for knowing how much evolved you are. This is how India wanted to judge people. That is how it judged people. That is the reason why India became a remarkable land. To put once again Swami Vivekananda's words, when Europe was still living on the branches of trees, India had reached the zenith of civilization. All these things became possible because we knew how to live. We knew what life meant. We knew what exactly was the concept of fulfillment in life. Thank you. Today I could not, of course all those things are supposed to have been covered, but I could not, for the only reason time was not that much available at my disposal. Yes, having known this, how to realize, having known what we are, how to realize. The duality, question of duality comes. No doubt we are absolute. But once again the concept of Maya will come. And how? Because after all, religion is realization. I know I am Brahman, but I have not yet realized how to realize. With lot of elaboration they come to the point that it is, of course, quite you can accommodate, it's possible for you to take out that absolute from you, you can take it out and create a concept of Godhood, and you may try to love him, because the human psychology is that whomsoever you are loving from the bottom of your heart, automatically, gradually, his characteristics will start appearing in you also. Radha, more or less, started looking like Krishna only, her walking style, her face, etc. Even in India, also in Bangalore, we have got many boys who more or less speak like Swami Purushottamji only. When they sing, the way they move their head and the handwriting that they have got up, the original handwriting, it was not like that. Because day in and day out, they have been constantly contemplating upon that great man. Automatically, that Brahmara Kita Nyaya, that Vedanta we know. Whenever this Brahmara is always contemplating seriously about that Kita, this Brahmara, this Kita, when it is contemplating on Brahmara, it also will become Brahmara only. It's something like magnetic induction. When iron piece is constantly in touch with a magnet, iron also will become a magnet. This is something that you can apply to all. Human psychology is also one such thing that observes, that can be brought under this category. Whomsoever or whatsoever is the entity with which the mind is constantly in communion, in contact, gradually mind will develop within itself the characteristics of the entity in which it is in contact with. So there, with that view, we have made a concept of God. So many gods are conceptualized, and depending upon your taste and all that, we have several gods. They say 33 crores. 33 crores of gods and goddesses were there when India's population was 33 crores. Going by today's standards, it is 100 crores, because each one can have his own concept of God. Remember that this is what Vivekananda says. Everyone must have his own sect. Each individual must have his own sect. But it doesn't mean to say you must remain sectarian. Each one must have his own sect, but it doesn't mean you should be sectarian. Having sects is one thing, becoming sectarian is another thing. So you have your own concept of God, to how you are going to love. Simply if you say I am loving him, it will not do. Practically you have to demonstrate that you love. How do you love? The surest way, surest test for knowing whether a person is loving you or not is only to know how much he can sacrifice for your sake. No person can love a child as much as its mother loves. How do you say? Mother is ever prepared, ever ready to sacrifice anything for the sake of the child. So, I love you, God. How do you say? See, all these things I like very much. I am offering it to you. This, the food I like, therefore food I am Agnaya Swaha, Agnayidan Namama, Rudraya Swaha, Rudraya Namama, Nirutaya is Indraya Swaha, Indraya Vishnuvaya Swaha, Vishnu Idannam, something like that. I like this. This is something that I like most, O Lord, but I am offering it to you. I am not going to keep anything for me. Whatever I like in my life, all those things I am offering. This used to be in the earlier days. Later days, the same thing assumed the form of worship. So instead of offering it into fire as an oblation, what we do now, we simply offer it to God when we are doing that puja. Gandha, Shodshopachara puja. 16 different things we offer. I give it to you, I give it to you. As you go on practicing, giving things that you like most to the most beloved that you have in that concept of Godhood, a day will come when you become a ripened individual, and at that point you are prepared to offer yourself. Now you are giving things that can be brought under the category mine. You have been going on giving the things that belong to the category mine. A day will come when you offer the I also. When this I and mine are offered to the beloved, then that love is quite ripened. And it is at that point that the beloved will really come to know that you are someone that he must bestow his attention to. In just one glance, he will lift you up. That is how we realize what we are. Now we know conceptually what we are, but realization must come. We know it. We know an iron can become a magnet itself. It's possible to convert an iron into magnet, but simply knowing that iron can be converted to magnet, it has not become magnet. Once again, it has to undergo another process. It's like that more or less. It is there that the position and elements of rituals is.
Swami G, when you talk about truth as one, what is the place for non-dual? What is the place for qualified dualism and dualism in that spectrum?
Yes, it's a very pertinent question. See, of course, in 2-3 sentences I would like to finish it off. It's quite easy to differentiate and also try to know what positions they occupy with respect to that non-dual philosophy also. See, the subject is that consciousness. The Dvaita or the dual philosophy will say the object and subject can never be same, one and the same. We all know. That's our experience too. When the consciousness is subject and anything other than consciousness is object, definitely your eye itself cannot see the eye. The seer, the seen and the seeing, the Triputi, in Vedanta we call it as Triputi. Jnatru, Jnaya and Jnana. Dhyatru, Dhyayavastu, Dhyana. 3 different entities are there. I am saying something. The seer is my consciousness, which is pure, non-dual consciousness, pure consciousness. The consciousness only is seeing. No material thing is seeing from inside. It is consciousness. You may say eye is seeing, but behind that eye there is nerve center. Behind that nerve center, that mind is there. Behind the mind, intellect is there. Behind that intellect, Atman is there. Ultimately, we arrive at the point that it is consciousness that has been observing all these things. The consciousness is the seer, the subject. The Dvaita will say, the duality or the dual philosophy, they say, how the object and the subject can become same when this is consciousness and everything else is not conscious or non-conscious. You have to accept, yes, it is true. But don't stop there only. Move a little bit ahead. Okay, now let us analyze the nature of the subject and the object. First, let us analyze the nature of the subject, the consciousness. What is the nature of consciousness? It is not material, it is not matter. Definitely it is not material. Anything that is not material must be spiritual. Because it is not material, it is not finite. Only material things can be finite, remember. Only things that are material in nature can be finite. Because it is not material, it can never be finite. When it is not finite, what else it can be? It should be infinite. When the consciousness is infinite, naturally it must contain everything as a part of it. So therefore, the Vishishtadvaitas are the qualified monism or qualified non-dual philosophers, qualified monists, they come and say, it is subject which is predominant, the infinite consciousness that is predominant, the object is just a part of it. The objective world is a part of it because when you analyze the nature of the subject, it is infinite, and therefore everything else must be a part of infinite because that is the definition of infinity. So whatever objective world you see is a part of it, and these two will constitute the totality of reality. So that is a part of this. It is not independent, it's a part of it. Of course, it has got a place, but not an independent place. It's a part of this. That also you have to accept. You can't say no. Then comes the qualified, the non-dual philosophers and say, my dear friends, please remember, when the consciousness is infinite and the objective world outside is a part of it, what can be a part of infinite? A part of infinite must be infinite only. You divide infinity into any number of parts, each part will have to be an infinity only. When you say, as per your own argumentation, as per your own stand, I accept your stand. When you say this is infinite and that is finite and finite is a part of infinite, remember, part of infinite also is infinite. Outside you have infinity, inside also you have infinity. Remember, can you have two infinities simultaneously existing? Can there exist two infinities simultaneously? There can be only one infinity. And therefore what you see as the objective world cannot claim reality for that. It may appear, but it cannot exist. Perhaps it has got a notional existence, it can never have a real existence. After all, why should we take into consideration anything that does not have a reality? Maximum we can say it has got notional existence. It may have vyavaharika satya, it cannot have paramarthika satya. It may have vyavaharika satya. That is so. One is leading to the other, that is the beauty of it. They quarrel. In India, they have been quarreling for the past several centuries. After all, that is one thing they have been doing, of course. But one is leading to the other. Both scientific again. One is, that's what Ramakrishna and Vivekananda say, they are mutually complementary and not contradictory. If you accept one stance, you have to accept the whole system. You can't accept one and reject. This leads to that and that leads to this, ultimately. That's why.
On the point that you made, the Hindus ought to be proud of their culture. To be honestly proud of all the Hindu philosophy, one should be thoroughly knowledgeable about it. How many of the Hindus can afford to spend time to be so knowledgeable as to be proud, in addition to pursue whatever else they do in their lifetime? That is the problem. Why we all of us, we want to be proud. Can I be honestly proud? I don't have that knowledge.
Yes. This problem has been thought over ages ago, when our philosophers again divided the long span of life into 4 parts. Definitely they don't expect you to go through all these philosophical works during your student days. You know, being a man of secular segment, you can't afford to have sufficient time to devote for all these things. During your Grihastha period also, you can't afford to devote so much time. But after the 50th year, during your Vanaprastha, what is it that you are doing? They put that question. Every Vanaprasthi is supposed to be undertaking the things like this during the whole period of that Vanaprastha. After 50 or 60, if every man that is retired, both in Indian context and also in American or Hindus, if they can devote some time after the age of 50 or 60, how much can be learned? They can definitely pay a lot of attention. Even then also they are engaged in so many other things. Engagement is all right, but what is that in which that you must be engaged in? It is the ripe age, you have lot of experience, you have reached that ripeness of age, experience, everything. You can understand, you can have true insights. Your experience itself is a great treasure. It is going to aid you a lot. But we don't come across any sizable number of people within the Hindu fold who can devote any time at all. They should do it. When at least one elderly man in the whole family knows about that, he can go on explaining all these things to other members in the family. After all, in any Hindu family, an elderly man is respected. We have Krishna Jayanti. What exactly is the real concept of Krishna? On the day of Krishna Jayanti, instead of preparing some very good dishes and consuming them, if you can spare some time for knowing about all these things, how much it augurs well. How much it augurs well. Every festival is associated only with some preparation, some entertainment. Remember, Hindu philosophy of life has never place for the entertainment exclusively. Look at that point, you will come across that every entertainment has always been containing that element of enlightenment also in that. Through Ramayana we used to give entertainment to our people, but what an amount of education was there? Mahabharata, Savitri Katha, so on, so Chandrahasa, so on, so forth. Everywhere that element of enlightenment used to be there. That is how people at large used to be educated in ancient India. Through some Harikatha, through some folk dance, folk drama on the night of Shivratri. Somehow we used to have lots of opportunities for educating people about ethical commitment, the necessity for converting one to a man of high degree of morality and all that. But somehow it has been lacking. So if you can revive that old philosophy, especially as it is applicable to the segmentation of life into 4 parts, with each having its own way of having its commitment, etc. Well, on festival days, you can gather all family members at one point, and the elderly person in the family, in his own way, can narrate all these things to other members, whereby they can definitely learn. Hari Om Tat Sat, Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Dear friends, of course I have a Sienna, I had an Odyssey, but I have no Infinity yet. Well, after listening to this great Swami G with
you are infinite yourself. So.
It was a great opportunity to hear high level of wisdom, high level of accomplishment in the spiritual path. Of course, Swamiji is giving discourses in the temple. You all have seen the emails. So, if you could, please attend. And one small request from us is, my wife, of course, we have prepared food for about 8 to 10 people. There are 7 more people. If you have no problem, if you could wait for 10-15 minutes, we can prepare some food for you all, eat and go. We have of course, this is our Clarion Hotel, but this is also our residence inn. So, please join us if you could. If not, we will see you tomorrow. Thanks again for a wonderful opportunity.
ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾಳೆ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಣ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ